Hi, I'm Chitoh.
I'm Nirosh.
And welcome to the first episode of the Olfactory Reel. This is a show where two friends want to come together, talk about our experiences with fragrance, and how it connects to our memories, our experiences, and our culture.
So for today's episode, we're hoping to just kind of give you all an idea of kind of what brought us to fragrances, colognes, perfumes, how our life has kind of been surrounded around that, and how do we work within it. And at the very end, we're hoping to share our top 3 in our collection with no specific kind of focus, but just, you know, when we think of like what are the top 3 colognes that we love in our collection, these are the ones that just immediately come to mind for us.
So why don't we talk about a little bit about who we are, our backgrounds, and what we're doing right now with our lives?
Sure. So for me, I'm in my scrubs. It's kind of obvious, kind of maybe. I'm a medical student. I'm in my last year of medical school, and I was born and raised in California. My family's from Sri Lanka. I'm an immigrant from an immigrant family as well, and like been in California my whole life, and have had different drops of cologne and things around fragrance throughout my life, but it wasn't until probably maybe last year or maybe a little bit further than that, then I really started getting into it for sure.
For me, yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, so my name's Chitoh, again, like the snack. I come from a Chinese American background, and I grew up I was born and raised in New Jersey on the East Coast. And I went to UC Santa Barbara for college, graduated with a degree in biochemistry, and I'm up here in San Francisco doing a lot of work related to research. I worked at a biotech company. I'm hoping to apply to medical school, UCSF being my dream school. I'm working there with a professor right now on cancer research, and I'm hoping to make some big strides hopefully in the coming year. Well, my relationship with fragrance is a bit different, but it's also very much related to memories of my childhood, traveling with my family, the first bottle of cologne that my dad ever wore. And I didn't realize how much scent was a part of our memory until I smelled certain things, and it would transport me back to this very hyper, realistic memory of what that was related to.
Yeah. There's definitely a strong connection with scent and memory. For us especially, there are times even when I was just kind of smelling through these, I'll smell it and bam, there's a quick memory that comes to mind, or just a feeling, I think, too.
Exactly. And I think it's crazy because for humans, we're very visual learners, right? So you don't really think about a scent when you're sort of retrieving a memory. But when it comes to smelling something, all of a sudden you're transported back to this memory in such a realistic fashion that you didn't even know was that deeply stored in your mind, right? For example, Nishane has Oolong Cha and Oolong Cha X, and I think it's based off of hotels in Shanghai.
Yeah,
it says Shanghai on the bottle, and it was crazy to me because when I first smelled it, I was like, oh my god, this is like a hotel lobby when I was traveling in Asia with my family as a child.
Nailed it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's very interesting though too. When you ask people what comes to mind when you smell this, irregardless of the notes and the ingredients specifically that are in a fragrance, you'll find that everyone has kind of a different interpretation of it sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll smell something and I'll kind of give what do I think this is, or what comes to mind, how does this make me feel? And I'll ask other people, I'll ask my partner, my friends, whatever the case may be, and they feel something different. And that speaks to really kind of what has your relationship been with fragrances to begin with, and just what are the general scents and experiences you're normally around too.
Definitely. And I think the crazy thing is, right, the perfumer has their own vision for a fragrance. For example, with Orto Parisi, right, it's smells from his grandfather's farm or vegetable garden, I believe. And so it's every scent or every memory he has, he associates with a scent. So there's Sturkis, which is the manure aspect of the farm. There's Megamari, which is the aquatic one, right? And so for him, the perfumer, it's a very specific memory. But when you combine all those ingredients together, it might be interpreted completely differently by one of us, right? On the other side of it. We might not even know his story. And we might actually have a similar story, connect to him through that.
Sure.
But also, if it's different, we might connect to completely different people. Like me and Nirosh might smell it, not know the story, and still have a similar memory of what he brings up. So that's the craziest thing for me.
And you know what, it brings up an interesting topic too, like when perfumers are making these colognes, perfumes, and they have a vision in mind, do you think that they've solved the puzzle and the picture there if the person smelling it gets that same memory?
I think there is a component to that where they want to connect with the end user, right? The person's buying their fragrance and smelling it down the line. But also at the same time, right? Like some, especially designer brands, they're more pressured to create something that's just mass appealing, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't always tell a story.
Right.
It's just supposed to sell in large quantities, right? Whereas niche brands, right? There's much more like latitude to work on the story, right? Like for example, Chitoh, right? So she's a Thai perfumery based out of France, and I think the story was that her father used to write her poems, right? And so these are all deeply rooted memories for her, and she creates fragrances based off of the poems and also her memories. So if I remember correctly, each bottle that she sells has a copy of one of her father's poems.
Wow, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
maybe we can transition into talking about like, you know, how has cologne been implemented into our lives?
Actually, I kind of want to mention one more thing, if that's all right.
Sure.
Our friend Shane, who's a radiology resident at UCSF, he was smelling, I think it was Sultan Vetiver from Nishane, which is based off of the streets of Mumbai. And he was saying like, whoa, this actually does smell like when you're like getting like food from the street stalls.
Yep.
It really invoked that memory for him. So it was like the perfect representation.
Yeah,
of
no, they nailed it exactly. And more specifically too, like he said it's for him, like both him and I are Sri Lankan. And he said that, you know, it smells like one of like when you're walking down the streets and entering one of these shops in Sri Lanka, you know? And I smelled it and I was like, oh yeah, dude, they nailed it. They nailed it. You know, and it's crazy to think that they could encapture something like that, because it's not like, you know, the store is filled with just like
it's not just you're grabbing like stuff from the air and shoving it in a bottle. It's like like you're coming from synthetic ingredients and natural, somehow putting a blend together that gives you the exact essence of that location.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's crazy,
for sure.
It's
an art. It's an art.
Definitely.
Truly. And again, designer brands are not going to be doing specific things like that.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely. Yeah, so why don't we start talking about how fragrance has played a factor into our lives and what it means to us?
Yeah. I can start. You know, for me, it definitely was not something that was like routine at all when I was younger. You know, my dad would go to work, and I do remember him spraying like cologne on before he would go to work. And you know, I don't think it was anything particularly strong, but like to this day, even I'll tell Chitoh, like, you know, this smells like my dad's cologne.
I remember that's one of the first ones I showed you.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not trying to get that vibe. You know, that's not what I'm going for.
Yeah.
But then I think I was gifted, I think like Armani Code cologne. Like it was a Macy's kit.
Like the tall, like
exactly, like a kit. It was an I remember specifically aftershave, cologne, and deodorant stick. You know?
I remember my dad had one of those from like, I think it was the Burberry Sport one that was discontinued like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But like invoked such a strong memory for me because I remember like taking it apart and like smelling it because it was his birthday gift. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. See, again, like these smells and memories are so strongly connected and they're so special. But yeah, I still remember that so vividly. And again, like I would only wear that if we had like some type of like nightly occasion.
Like house party or like
going out mainly, and just throw it on just because I wanted to feel, I guess, more mature necessarily. But I didn't at the time really care about how I smelled. You know, like that wasn't important for me. So like again, it was just more so a thing of like it's an accessory to like my outfit in a way, because I was dressing up.
Yeah.
But at that point, I really didn't care what it smelled. I was just like, oh, it smells nice, good enough. You know,
it's like the one for all, basically.
Exactly.
The dumb reach.
And like now we have freaking like so many. You know, and it's probably too much at this point. But you know, like it definitely when you're young like that. At least for me, not having too much exposure to a cologne, like that was my first kind of cologne that I had for myself, and I was just like, yeah, it's something I use for something special, and that's it.
Yeah. Similarly for me, right? Like my dad used to wear, I think he wore like Swiss Army Classic most of the time. On special occasions, he'd wear Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. So I remember like I didn't know about that fragrance for a long time because it was always in his like dressers. I never saw it. But like I went to the store in the past year when I got into fragrance, and I smelled it. I was like, whoa, that is my dad before we go to a wedding.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
And like I remember with his Burberry Sport that he had the whole like aftershave kit plus the fragrance. I really wanted to revisit that smell because I remember really liking it one time when I came home from middle school and I was smelling it. And so since the prices were all jacked up from it being discontinued, I think it was like people were like gouging it for like $250 per bottle for a designer fragrance, which is nuts. And also it's super old, so you don't know what's happened to it.
Right, for sure.
So like I went on Universal Perfumes and Cosmetics where they have like the cologne oils, and I mixed it up with perfumer's alcohol. And I was like, this is, it's like, it's triggering that memory for me, right? And then like a lot of friends would come over and like I had a bunch of oil left over.
What age or what year was this from?
I think it was 2011 or so. Yeah. So like, but there's something that's like a ginger, ginger grapefruit combo. So it was really awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I think there's also like Blue Moon, like Ginger Dash or something from by Kilian that also gave me a bit of the vibe, but it didn't invoke the memory as strongly. But the oil definitely did, and I was like, "Whoa, this is such a cool way to approach it, right?"
Yeah, yeah. And I think after that, for me, that was like my high school time, and I think maybe I brought that bottle to college. I can't remember too much, but again, it wasn't a priority because again, like in college, I wasn't like going out doing fun necessarily, you know.
A lot of busy hours.
yeah. You know, you do what you got to do to get to medical school in a way, but you still enjoy yourself and stuff like that. But for me, like, I didn't feel like I had a need for wearing cologne, you know. It wasn't maybe towards the latter end, maybe in my like end of third year, close like, and then during my masters and stuff, where that's the time where I was like getting a little bit more into fragrances. I can't remember if it was a partner at the time or myself. I think I got that one for myself. It was a Zara.
Ooh, okay,
cologne,
okay.
You know. And low-key, some Zara colognes are kind of slept on. Like, they are good.
They're all like clones of other fragrances, but like inspired by us. But
for sure,
they have their own merit in a way. If like you're trying to enter a certain scent.
That's exactly what it is, right? Like if you're trying to...
It's democratizing it, right?
Yeah, agreed, right? They do have really great scents. But again, like you can easily tell when you compare to something like what stuff that we have, the quality is different, the projection, the longevity especially is different, right? Can't remember the exact one that I had, but at the time, I'm pretty sure it was probably something close to a freshie. And I think that one, at that time, towards the end of college, I would start to wear that, I think as just a throw on every day type of thing, you know?
So like becomes a party.
yeah.
You don't even think about it.
Part of the routine in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like even for me now, like I have my skincare, I do my hair right before I leave, throw some on, you know? It's just part of the routine in a way. And so I think that's where the routine started, just like in college for me. Throwing that on, and I would just continue just using that one really. Because again, at that point, I wasn't too like super into colognes or anything like that, but you know, I enjoyed it. And you know what actually caused me, and this was actually the pivotal change that caused me to end up looking into other colognes. I took that whole bottle, right? And it was a 50 ml. It was probably a 50 ml. Circular bottle, right? And I took it on the plane. In the carry-on luggage, I think. No, I can't even carry on because the liquid is too much, I think. But I took it.
It's 100 ml limit. But
is it 100?
Yeah, you might have just been like cautious and put it.
That's probably what
into
it was.
your.
Yeah. So I threw it in, came back, opened my luggage, tried. It didn't actually like burst or anything. It didn't particularly leak everywhere. But the atomizer was not.
Got messed up.
Anymore. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Atomizer was not working anymore. But like every time I press it, it would start to leak just a little bit around the bottom.
Oh,
and so, you know, me at the time, I was like desperate. I was just like, just grabbing it type of like, you know what I mean?
Rub it on.
But it was Zara, so, you know, no shame on Zara's colognes or anything like that, but like no projection at all, right? You know, sometimes if you have like a strong parfum or sort of like an oil itself, you throw that on and that projects, right? That stays on for sure. So yeah, that was the downfall of the Zara, the catalyst for everything else.
Everything else, yes.
Yeah.
Gotta go down before you go up, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so why don't we talk about my experiences with gaining my first bottle and sort of developing that relationship with fragrance. I think it was actually my first bottle was between two of them. I can't quite remember, but it was this American Eagle one. I was at summer camp at Stanford, and my roommate Varun, he had this body spray, and I really liked it. And so I took the picture down. I bought the body spray.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry to cut you off. That reminds me. I actually in high school when I played football for all 4 years of high school, and at that time I was using Axe body spray. every.
It's the shower in a can,
dude. Seriously. But you know, hey, I'm a clean guy though, right?
Yeah.
And so I definitely wasn't replacing showers with that bottle, but yeah, I would use those, and I think I remember I had 2 different ones. Can't remember the first.
I mean, they're
one.
mass appealing. They're like
for
nice
sure.
to smell.
No, they smell great.
Yeah.
But the one I had was a little bit of a chocolate one.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was good. Sorry, resume. I just you mentioned the body spray and that.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit.
It's a lot of people's first way of getting into it.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy, you don't really think about it. You just
For sure.
all around the head too. Yeah. Yeah. So I finished the body spray and I went to the store and they actually had the actual fragrance. I think it was an EDT, and so I had it and I was wearing that for a long time.
Through high school. EDT of the fragrance?
Of the body spray.
The body spray? Wow.
And so, I was wearing that for quite a while. When I went to college, I was like, Dad, what was the one that you had that you used to wear every day? And he said, oh, it was a Victorinox or Swiss Army Classic. And I was like, I love that one because it's such a strong memory of like my dad, right? It's like, whereas you're like, I don't want to smell like my dad. For me, I don't know why. It's like, I wanted to smell like my dad.
Yeah.
And so...
Because for me, it's an age thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there are colognes now that I'll tell them, like, when we're smelling colognes kind of at the mall or at a store or whatever, oh my god, this one is just, it doesn't fit my age. You know?
That's actually funny because like I try to project a slightly more mature image. I will wear stuff that tends to be denser, heavier, like some of the Meteore stuff. I love Interlude. I don't personally own it yet, but that's definitely like one of my faves, and it gives you that sort of established gentleman vibe. But it can be a bit much for some. It's very smoky, incensey, you know? Yeah. So I went to college with both the Swiss Army Classic and the American Eagle. And I wore that for a long time, didn't think anything else. It was just like, spray it on, I want to smell nice, right? And so that was basically all the way through college. And I think one summer I went back home and there was a magazine and it had Creed Aventus as a little sprayer. And I was like, this is so good, right? It was like when it first when I first encountered it a couple years ago. And my mom was taking a trip to Europe. She's like, oh, like fragrance is much cheaper out here. You know, let me know which one you want. And I said, Creed Aventus. And she came back and I was like, this smells very different. And it turns out she had Creed Aventus cologne, which is very different.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like gingery, like the more gingery one rather than the more like smoky birch focused one.
It's beautiful too.
Pineapple. Yeah. I love it. But the thing was that my mom's business partner wore it. And I was I didn't realize, but like I was like, where is this from? I've smelled it before, but it's not what I wanted, right, from the magazine. Yeah. And my sister was like, oh God, that's the name of the business partner smell. And I was like, holy crap, it is. So the next time I visited him, I'm like, do you wear Creed Aventus cologne? He's like, yeah, that's the one.
Damn.
And so for the longest time, I didn't wear it because of that association.
For sure.
But ultimately, like, I came around to it as great perfumery. Even if it doesn't last too long, it's just like that ginger note really gives it a nice punch in it. And I really loved it. You know?
Yeah, I think, and then, for me, when I lost that Zara bottle, I think I went some time just kind of like, not really putting too much effort into getting a new bottle. I can't remember if I was in medical school at that time or if I was just about to start, so things were busy for the most part. And then my partner at the time had got me like the sampler kit from Sephora. Yeah, low-key a hack.
You can get ombre leather for $80.
Yeah,
it's still a hack.
It's you know what? It's worth it because again, and for people who don't know, it's the Sephora like sampler kit, and they give you like a few like samples from a wide selection. Tom Ford, Valentino, what else? Prada, Gucci, Louis. No. Chanel, the designers, right?
Stuff that you're bound to like at least one of them.
100%. And the deal is like you get that, you pay, I think it's $80, I think. You pay that $80 for all those samples, and then you get the opportunity to choose like from that kit, which one do you want a full size of, essentially,
Yeah.
And it becomes 100% worth it when the full size bottles are anything more than $80. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And for Tom Ford ones, for like YSL, stuff like that becomes worth it 100%. It's not like the huge size, but for those sizes, like if you can, It's low-key a hack.
Yeah, it's still a deal when you compare it to buying it directly from the
100%,
store.
100%. So at that time, you know, that's what led me to actually select this one, which is Valentino Uomo, born in Roma. And we'll go through you know, all of our top 3 fragrances. But yeah, at that time I was lucky to find that like we both liked it, and I particularly liked this one really there's so much so that I was like, damn, I gotta get this. And I think from there, at that point, I'm trying to remember if I got Rasasi Hawas after that, or if I got the next one, which is my...
Just the Zara tobacco one, right?
Zara. Oh, yes. But that was much later.
That was
much later, yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think timeline-wise. What did I get next? But anyways, this right here was definitely what kind of kickstarted it. Yeah. And I think, you know what, though? I think the fact that this would just smelled so good and felt so good, I was like, you know what? I gotta explore. There has to be other fragrances that give you that same feeling, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It was a very similar process for me where, like, I had the same few fragrances for a long time, and I started getting more interested, right? But like, there's that sort of moment where it happens, and so I was working in biotech for a while, and I had a disposable income now, right? So that's when things start going downhill.
Especially when you're Chitoh, who doesn't have much else to spend his money on. But
I get obsessive about everything. That's the problem. So basically, my friends were talking about like, oh, Silver Mountain water. Right? My godfather gave me like a small sample of it, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So this is like a little over a year ago. So my collection had grown to like maybe 4 or 5 fragrances.
And this is a year ago, you said?
Yeah, a little over a year ago. I'd say like...
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so at that point where I was like, this is amazing. And so I started looking into it, had the disposable income. I was like, I didn't know I could go places to try stuff. I had no idea. And so I was like, what's the fastest way to try all these different scent DNAs? And I came across clones, right? Like everybody has their own opinions on it, but honestly, like it was a huge way for me to try different scent DNAs, huge way for me to learn about fragrance, notes, like getting into Fragrantica and seeing what all the breakdowns were.
Totally.
And I remember because like
you feel as bad too when you
when
you're not dropping freaking $200
to $300 a bottle. Instead, you're spending like between $20 to $50 a bottle.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think my first clone ever was Armaf Club de Nuit Sillage, which is a Silver Mountain water clone, because I had run out.
Oh yeah.
And I remember I tried Silver Mountain water again in the store. I found it like after I bought the clone of it, and I was like, oh my god, this is watered down, right? There was a video online from the Fragrance Apprentice that was essentially talking about that. That was one of his most viral videos, and I didn't realize it, but I remember in my mind I had a strong memory of the sample of Silver Mountain water that I had, and when I smelled the one at the store, I was like, this is so watered down. It's like it doesn't even last.
The store. Yeah.
And the sillage, on the other hand, would last forever. Right? It was incredible.
Okay.
And it was actually closer in the scent. I think it was missing the T note, but everything else was spot on.
Wait, are you talking about, clarify again, are you talking about the
clone?
The brand of the clone?
Yeah, Club de Nuit Sillage.
Okay, and comparing the two, you're saying the sillage...
It was closer to the original Creed that I had a sample of.
Okay. And
whereas the new reformulated Creed was super watered down.
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and from that point on, I think within 2 months, my fragrance collection grew to about 30, from like 5 to 30.
2 months?
2 months. And it was mostly clones with some like designer mixed in.
Yeah.
And like it just kept going up and up and up. My cousin, he told me about Zigio Perfumery where I work now. And we went there and we tried more stuff, and that was my first foray into niche. And in a short amount of time, it just skyrocketed my spending on fragrance, and it was quite bad. Which leads us to the story of how we met.
Oh yeah. So, you know, at this time, I was in my 3rd year of medical school, closer to the tail end of it. You know, this was like around, I think, September maybe. Around the
You're prepping
fall.
for step 1 already a little bit?
No. It was shelf exams.
Okay.
But, you know, something that's important for me in medical school is just like maintaining my health. and that usually comes from, for one, diet, sleep, and then exercise especially, you know, and this is something that was ingrained in me since like high school for sure. But you know, ultimately, like if you want to be successful, like you gotta have everything outside of whatever you're trying to be successful at, like sound. Or to some extent, you know.
Was it mens sana and corpore sano? My dad always told me that. It's a sound mind and a sound body.
Oh yeah, baby. Exactly. So yeah, so like, you know, I try to get the workout in, especially in the mornings if I can, before having to go to the hospital or whatever the case may be. And I can't remember at the time what rotation or what I was doing, right? But I had just recently like been a little bit more active on Fragrance Talk, TikTok, and kind of just exploring what other people's opinions were on colognes at that time. And, you know, at that time, I had my Valentino, I had my Versace Eros, and maybe one other one or something like that, right? But, you know, there was a lot of hype starting to come around Rasasi Hawas. And, you know, it was a blind buy for me. But I had looked through, I had heard what people were saying about it, looked through the Fragrantica notes, and I realized, like, no, you know what, this is something that I'm like, I think I would love it. Had it on in the gym, and you know what, the first day that I wore it, I had to go to the hospital to get some paperwork done or something like that. So a woman stopped me and asked me, she's like, hey, excuse me, what are you wearing? Yeah. And, you know, like, some people wear colognes for the attention that it can get, for the compliments, right? Other people like it just because it, you know, makes them feel good, they like to smell good. You know, I think I'm more of the latter for sure. But it's definitely a great feeling when you buy something that was a blind buy.
And it ends up working out.
And it hits, right? and people like it. And people compliment you often. I was like, dude, what the heck?
Right.
It's crazy.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and I love it, you know, and people compliment me, okay, great, even better. Anyway, so I knew this was good. That was the first day I wore it. Second day I wore it, I go to the gym in the morning.
And he was in the middle squat rack. I was right next to him, and I was like, something's in the air. It's the bubblegummy sweet. It's either Invictus, which I've never smelled at that point, or it's Hawas. And I was like, it seems kind of like plummy to me. So I'm gonna bite the bullet and go up to this guy and be like, because right, Invictus or Rasasi Hawas, sorry, is a sort of fragrance that not most people would know about, unless you're sort of somewhat into fragrance at Fragcom.
Yep.
And so I was like,
and you knew, like, if this guy's wearing this, then he has to be somewhat into
exactly. And so I was like my usual extroverted self. I was like, I gotta talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Like I have no one to talk to. I have a cousin who really loves it and a friend, Jason, who really loves it.
Rasasi Hawas or
like just fragrance in general.
Fragrance.
But I was like, I need to meet someone here. Like I'm new here at UCSF doing research.
Yeah.
And I'd love
At that point, how long were you working here for?
Only a few months, like 2 months, I think.
2 months, okay. And you really hadn't like made a connection with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was stuck in lab all day. It's like kind of tucked in the corner of the building. So there's just not a lot of social interaction. So I was like, I really want to talk to this guy.
For sure. Man.
And so I was like, hey, like, are you? Sorry, weird question, but are you wearing Rasasi Hawas by any chance? And he's like, yes, bro. And so we started talking from there, and like
we chopped it up. We really chopped it up. Like literally, like I think I was in between. Like I think I was in a break or something like that. I think I was maybe doing bent over rows or something. And at that point, like the break went way over for sure. But it was great because like, dang, like this guy really loved like colognes and was happy to talk to me about them, and like I was happy to share and discuss like what else I have and stuff like that. And I don't think we exchanged numbers or anything like that at that time.
Instagram.
That was Instagram.
And I was like, and the next day I was like, I have some fragrances I want this guy to try, and I gave him a sprayer, like one of those travel sprayers. And so like I was like, I texted him the next day, I said, hey, you around? And I met him outside the gym the next day, and I gifted it to him, and then we kept talking from there. He was like super nice. He invited me over because his roommate Ankit also loves fragrance.
Yeah.
And so from there it was just friendship.
Yeah. No, and I should mention also Ankit was definitely someone that was kind of the bridge between this, where I was like, you know, I like colognes, but Ankit already had like a great like designer collection of colognes.
He also has a couple Tom Fords from the private collections.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you know those colognes, like, and just smelling those, and just smelling it around the house when he wore it and stuff, I was like, oh, it smells really nice, you know. And it really kind of helped push me to get also more into it as well. Yeah, totally. But yeah, that's been, you know, it's been the start. That was the start of our friendship, and truly has been like a really strong, great friendship since then too.
Constantly hanging out, constantly going to the gym together.
Yeah.
And, and supporting each other in our other endeavors, right? Like everything from errands all the way to him helping me like look at my med school application.
Yeah,
Truly
yeah, man. It's beautiful. It's really great to see like how a cologne and a fragrance.
This purple juice right here, it did the magic, you know, brought us together.
Yeah. But truly, like to this point, like truly one of my best friends, and it's amazing that like for one it brought us together, but then we realized like there's just so much about us that are similar.
So much more cultural background, being from immigrant families.
For sure, and just like the way we think and the openness we have for really anything around our life, and like it really,
for sure.
I think it's the maturity that we both hold.
Yeah, and I think the big part of it is like he's not afraid to tell me when he thinks I'm doing something or not going about something the right way, and he really like puts my head on straight.
Yeah.
Make sure that I'm not making any mistakes that he can see.
Yeah. So maybe now we can talk about our top threes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me check that camera real quick. All right, still rolling. We're at 35 minutes. We have 21 minutes left.
Okay. Well, or do you have a certain goal?
Like we'll cut and chop later.
Would it be 21 minutes?
Like the storage. Media.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. What else do we want to talk about?
No. But first episode, keep it.
Okay. Yeah. Because I want to talk about we'll talk about Zegio later.
Yeah, you do totally.
All right. So why don't we transition now to talking about our top threes?
Yeah. I might as well just. And again, this is in no particular order too. I just think top three. I don't know. Do you have a particular order?
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
Like I sort of separated them into different categories, but it just happened to be that way.
For sure. That's definitely not the case for me. I'm just like, I see my collection and these are like the top three that come to mind for me. Let's start off with the Rasasi Hawas. Different depending on where you get it from and such. Sometimes the juice is a little bit different color.
And people are saying like reformulation, it doesn't perform the same from batch to batch, but his one and the one that I have, it was actually quite beast mode, and you need a very little amount of it. You can see like how much he's used. It's very little bit.
I you know what though? Like I use a very little, but like clearly like there's still a dent in it, right?
Definitely.
So I'm using it for sure, but the projection's crazy. And honestly, like anything past 2 sprays even. Especially
when we work in a professional setting, we can't really.
We'll definitely go into that later as well, but for sure. Yeah. So just kind of the dynamics of the bottle, like glass bottle, really good like
dense
feel to it. Yeah, like just put your hands on that.
I love the knurling on this as well. It's like, it's like serpent carving too.
Yeah, it's super sick, right? But I'm a big on like caps and stuff. Cap isn't so great on this. I mean, it's strong, it's sturdy, like it's not loose, that's for sure. But the reason why I mention that is because when you get to the Louis Vuitton,
oh yeah,
it's crazy difference, right? Let's go ahead and smell. I mean, off the cap, it's the plum, the sharpness of it.
It's bubblegummy sweetness.
Yeah.
Aquatic.
Yeah, aquatic,
So what occasions would you wear that?
For this one, truly, I mean, like, I know some people have the whole occasion mindset around why do we wear colognes. I think because of the profession I'm in and the fact that I'm in the hospital so often, and I'm technically not supposed to be kind of overdoing it with colognes either.
Some of them are like fragrance-free zones.
Yeah. I don't really have like this one. This could easily be a daily driver for me.
He wears it quite often to the gym, I can say that.
Yeah. On paper, it actually smells a little bit different too.
It does.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is like body heat and like how much your skin absorbs certain compounds from the mix completely changes how it smells. Yeah.
But this could easily be a daily driver for you. I will say that like maybe more so can be more inclined to like the nighttime maybe.
It's bright enough though that it can totally work in the daytime as well. It's one of those very versatile fragrances.
And that's why I say like it easily could be a daily driver for me. But again, just like very just sharp bubblegum, plum. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
All right. So why don't we talk about one of mine? This is Bvlgari Man Wood Neroli. So I didn't know what Neroli was until I tried it, but it was also one of those notes where it's like it's technically a different way to extract orange blossom. I think with CO2 extraction, so it has a bit more like those bitter compounds. But like with the woods, it came off so masculine to me, but also so fresh. And it's actually discontinued, but you can still find it for a really great deal on there. Yeah, like there's something about it, right? It's like you could wear it anywhere, especially for the summer. It's perfect.
It's a little bit soapy. It definitely has a Neroli component for
I love
sure. Which is like grass, right? Like
so there's the woody aspect to it, but I think Neroli comes off like that, like bitter, like floral, but it also can come off slightly green, depending on the mix. And I can see exactly what you're saying with the grass. But it has this like, it's not too sweet. It's a bit more like on the bitter side, so it can be very like fresh. And so wearing it to the office, like a no-brainer basically, especially when the weather's warm too. The one gripe I have about this, it is the worst atomizer of anything I've ever tried.
I was gonna say, I think it's important that we also discuss the mechanics of the bottles, the feeling of the bottle.
So basically you have this like really weird cap going on that you could twist about 90 degrees from the off to on position.
Oh, nice, okay.
And if you don't press it hard enough, it like shoots a little like stream at you.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean like, I usually just use the travel sprayer instead because it's such a great like pressurized atomizer. But like juice wise, like you can't go wrong with this. It's just such a clean, fresh, not too playful, but like it could be professional. It's just like an all around great wear.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my earlier fragrances in my collection, I'd say.
Yeah, this one too.
Because I bought it along with wood essence.
Yeah.
That was like too sweet, too much of that like sugared lemon vibe. I didn't like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and you know, even this Rasasi Hawas now, like it starts to change a little bit. It starts to like really like, it gets dense. It gets dense.
And like when you start working out, the heat like really pushes it up.
For sure, yeah. Let me get into the next one. I already mentioned it with the Valentino, Uomo born in Roma. Really fun, cool bottle, you know? Like just feel like that.
It's like studded.
Like studded.
Hobnail. In watchmaking, it's called like clou de Paris. It's like the rooftops of Paris when you look down.
No, man. Like this one for me is for sure like date night. It's definitely something to go out in. It just smells so good. You know, the pink peppercorn. For me, it's like, I say spicy in a way. It's not like, it doesn't have any of those crazy spicy notes, but it's like spicy but sexy. Like that's what comes to me.
It has like a slight powderiness to it as well.
Yeah, definitely has a slight powderiness to it.
But it's very clean.
Great. I mean, I think it's a unisex too, you know, and women love this one for sure.
It has Uomo, which is like man in Italian in the name, but one of the, it's not like super masculine.
Agreed. And oh my god, I love this one. You know, like this one for sure. It's like, you know, when I'm feeling lucky, I wear this and I get lucky there. That's for sure. You know,
your collection's growing considerably, but you always keep going back to that still.
100%.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. It's
so a bit of soapiness keeps it clean, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you can probably tell off the bat, but like I'm definitely more into the freshies, more into the aquatics. And you know, there's definitely the component of citrus involved for me too. But that's kind of like where I'm at right now in my current phase.
All right, well, let's talk about my top of all time. This is Mind Games Blockade.
You said what of all time?
Top of all time.
There you go. That's number one right there.
And it's basically like mango Aventus, but when I smelled it, I didn't really get Aventus-y vibes. I just remembered mango plus tomato leaf. That green like bitter note from the tomato leaf was killer. And it's such an interesting take on it. Like my cousin didn't like Aventus, so I didn't like it in the end. But like for me, I kept telling him like this is a grail piece for me. And I found a deal after smelling it at Neiman Marcus, and I had to have it. I do have a gripe.
What was the deal?
It was like, I think it was like 20% off the first purchase from some online retailer. And I was like, I have to get it, right? Because it was pretty pricey from the store itself. So I'm always hunting up for deals here because we want a big collection. So it does have a really odd collar that like constantly shifts around. So like at the price at which this bottle costs, I think it's like kind of unforgivable. But honestly, the juice is so good that I will overlook that.
While you're doing that too, I should make the effort to like discuss the pricing and be a little more specific about bottles. So this bottle is really strongly, oh my god, I can already smell that. Atomizer is just fine on this. It's not incredible. It's not terrible either though. Again, for the cap on both of these aren't really that great. But the atomizer is good on this too.
Yeah.
And again, this is from the Sephora set. And so I think I only paid $80 for this. And this was like $45 with tax and shipping.
I think for the wood Neroli, this was like 120 something retail, but I got it for like half that on Amazon. Nice. So there's still a lot of stock of this around, I believe. For this, it was a bit more. Like the original price was like $360, but after a bunch of like discounts and discount codes, I think I got it to like $260. And it got shipped to me at that price, so
Solid.
yeah. And oh my god, it's just like, it's so wearable. Like everybody knows how wearable Aventus is, so.
Oh my god, and let me tell you, I have to mention this too. So I went to Miami for my cousin's bachelor party, and you know, I think at the time I smelled the Blockade, and you know, this one, it just screams like that Miami vibe to me now. Like when I smell this, I think back to that bachelor party and the mango, and oh my god, this one is so nice. So good.
It's the top of my collection for a reason. Aventus is a bit overplayed sometimes, but I think this has just enough of like a uniqueness to it that it's like it has that same wearability, but also it sets you apart.
100%. It's unique. It's smooth too, right? And tropical in a way, but at the same time, it's not, right?
Yeah.
Tropical,
it's like
but
greens
fresh.
and mangoes. It just gives it that punch
Yeah.
up top. I remember because like I had it on a strip and it lasted like forever. I kept smelling it like for 2 weeks on that strip, and I was like, oh my god, like this is the one I have to have, right?
Yeah.
And so I came back to it, and it was love at first sniff, and it was love at every sniff, basically.
100%. Yeah. So you know, I think so. This is Louis Vuitton Meteore. The bottle for this, like I feel like it's glass, right?
It's like a old like cool like medicine bottle or something.
Yeah, totally, but just like totally revamped, right? Like just feel that bottle, right? This something just feels so sturdy and pure to the bottle. It's probably the circular and the circular nature to it.
Yeah, there's no like real crazy seams anywhere, you know. It doesn't stand out.
Right, exactly. It's just beautiful circular, and that feeling on the hand, excuse me, is great. My favorite thing about this bottle though, the cap.
Magnetic.
That magnetic cap. I've yet to get a magnetic cap this good, and truly makes a difference. It makes a difference. I will say though that the atomizer, hit or miss. Sometimes the first spray can come out kind of as a stream, but thereafter it's fine. Regardless though, oh my god, like this one, the bergamot. And again, like I
There's like this crisp, sharp freshness to it, like a little bit of aquatic.
It's aquatic and it's sharp.
There's almost like this fizzy sweetness to it. I don't know how to explain it, but like I've tried a clone of it before, and it's just missing that fizziness. It's really special.
Truly, the quality of these Louis Vuitton
It lasts a long time.
fragrances are just so good. They do a really good job. And this is expensive. It really is. It's like $300.
It doesn't show up anywhere other than at the store, so you can never find a discount. Louis Vuitton has that sort of.
But truly, I truly love this one. Like if I really had to say like my number one,
That's it.
And it's tough. I don't want to say I never have number one, but like this is it's up there.
It's a contender.
It's a contender. But again, at the end of the day, like these are my top threes, and this one's just like it's
got so much power to it for a fresh.
Oh my god! Like I've never smelled anything like this before. I've never truly. But the citrus on this.
Remember there was someone at Bloomingdale's, we were talking to her about fragrance, one of the associates there, and she's saying that's her favorite men's fragrance.
That's right, yeah. And I was like, good thing I did that. Yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. And definitely like probably best for like the summers when it's hot and can project a lot. But honestly, like I'll wear this just because I want to wear it, you know?
I smell it at the gym sometimes on you too.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy is, like for me, I always thought I would never like anything other than freshies. Mainly because when I was getting into it, like the weather was warmer. So I was like, why the need for anything sticky, heavy, dense, right? And like, I know you're still like in the freshy stage. I don't know if like you're starting to branch out a bit more. Like you love Woodion's New York, for example.
Yeah.
So he's getting more into those like heavier scents. But for me, I think something that I sprayed on at the mall, and it was Haltane from Parfums. I had it on my hand, and I was like, at first I didn't really like it, but I was back in New Jersey actually, and as I kept smelling it, there was like this praline aspect of it was so like delicious, right? Because I smelled, I think Oud for Greatness, which people compare to this because it has a similar oud note, but it's much earthier, much harder to wear. So like at first, the initial blast, it gave me that sort of vibe. But as it dried down, there was this sort of like, praline, delicious, like nutty aspect to it on my skin, and it was like cold at that time in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to find a way to get this. And
For sure.
It's so expensive though. It's like $420 for this thing.
You pay full price for this?
No.
Yeah.
I was like my cousin had just talked to me about how you can get fragrances off of Facebook for much cheaper, like Facebook trade groups.
Oh, okay.
And so this guy was selling it for like a tester. This is a tester for $180 out the door. And I was like, oh my god, like I'm so scared that this is gonna be a fake.
For sure.
And so I waited forever for the guy to ship it. I paid and everything. I was like PayPal friends and family, so like there's no way to get my money back if it was fake. But the guy seemed to be legit, right? And so I bought it, I got it, and I was like, this is it. But I was still scared. I'm like, is my memory serving me properly?
Yeah.
Is this the real stuff? And so I went to the store, I smelled it, I was like, okay, that's it.
Nice.
I'm safe, right? And like specifically, I deem this one to be my favorite winter fragrance. There's just this like sophistication to it, but also not too sophisticated. The praline adds just enough like sweetness to it that it really like just makes me feel masculine and like ready to brave the cold. You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Although it doesn't really get that cold here in SF. But like
To me, it does. Being in California, raised in
for
California,
sure.
SoCal especially too, for sure. Talk about the atomizer on that.
The Parfums Neroli stuff is pretty decent. Like heavy cap. I know like the finishing on this, the matte finishing rubs off over time. But like the atomizer is fine. It's nothing too crazy. There's definitely better. But
This screams in winter.
yeah.
Oh my
Oud,
god.
praline, like saffron.
Praline.
Yeah. Like
Oh my
clary
God,
sage and
praline
lavender.
on that. The
Yeah.
lavender at the bottom too, sure.
It's just special. Like the
Beautiful.
color scheme. I love green and gold
Yeah.
together. It's perfect. Like in watches too. It's
Oh,
like-
agreed.
Exactly. There's
Yeah.
something about that.
Green
combo.
face.
Yeah. This is I think it was a Harrods exclusive. So this is their color schemes, which is why they went for it.
Yeah, and the feeling of the bottle is awesome too, right? This texture of the bottom, smooth, the gold.
It's like eggshell.
Yeah. No, I love it. And you know, it has weight to it.
It does.
Is it 100 mil?
This is so Parfums Neroli comes in the 75 ml and 125.
Oh, okay.
So like kind of odd sizes,
Yeah.
but like at least people think like, oh, at least I'm getting like for the price I'm getting a bit more.
It's expensive stuff. Yeah, it's crazy expensive.
So I'm just glad I was able to find a deal and not get scammed, and now it's become one of my tops for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you for coming to our first episode. It was fun.
Yeah, I hope you guys were able to kind of connect with some of our story and just come along the ride with us.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear from you guys what you think of our channel. If you want to hear more about our background with fragrance and also what you'd like to see in the next coming episodes.
Ultimately, like our goal is going to be to kind of share fragrances that we ourselves have. What do we feel about them, and what memories come to mind, and what do we just like immediately like? What is that reaction?
What does it trigger, right? It's
Yeah.
like, what do we associate that scent with? Because
Right.
like sometimes you say like, oh, like they read off the Fragrantica notes, right? It's like, what does that really tell you? Nothing, right? Because two scents can have very similar note breakdowns but smell completely different.
Yeah. So our goal is to really just kind of share our personal experience with these colognes, and then from there,
And also hear about yours.
yeah, and then exactly right, and I think that's the special aspect, and that's what makes us the olfactory reel.
The reel in terms of like replaying our memories from the past and also creating more memories, right? And having them being recorded on film for you.
Yeah. So look forward to hearing a little bit more about things that we have in our collection or samples that we get, and we're definitely
And we're open to whatever like acquiring what you'd like us to get our hands on and our noses on ultimately.
yeah.
And give you our thoughts.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, and we hope to see you again.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this for the first time, but like, comment, and subscribe. You'll never catch him saying that.
I will probably but
So I'll
come.
carry that burden. But yeah, thank you so much for coming to our first episode, and please comment away. Thank you.